Hola, hola, hola. Este es el skeptico de medianoche. And it's my goal using this medium, radio and YouTube, uh, in my small way to make this country more woke. Woke. I'm woke. And I've been distressed that the right-wing GOP MAGA heads have appropriated the term woke and are using it as a pejorative to describe liberals and progressives. But it shouldn't be that way. Okay, a lot of things shouldn't be the way they are, but they are. But we, meaning Democrats, progressives, liberals, kind of let them take it, unfortunately. Well, the term queer has been reappropriated by the LGBTQ community from a pejorative to a descriptor. Well, we should try to do the same thing with the term woke. It's not a bad thing. Woke people are accepting, non-judgmental, loving, helpful, accepting of everybody from every community, except the truly bad apples in the populace, like MAGA heads, okay? So let's make an effort to reclaim the word woke. I'm telling the whole world who's listening to this, all my millions of listeners, that I am woke and proud of it. Okay, where was I? I'm off my notes already. Ugh. Okay, in my small way, I hope to make this country more woke and to rid it of all GOP MAGA heads, Christian nationalists, conservatives, and Republicans. And it didn't used to be a pejorative in my mind for somebody to be called a conservative. There used to be in this country honorable conservatives. And there used to be in this country honorable Republicans until the orange sociopathic bloat bag came along and infused his unique brand of hatred and intolerance and general messed upness into what were good, thoughtful, smart conservatives and Republicans, but they're just not that way anymore. The Republican Party is a ash pile of hatred and intolerance now. Okay? So, having said all that, I'm going to play my play-in music now. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, this pre-recorded broadcast will go out to the world on Sunday the 8th at our usual time, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And today is Friday, the 6th of December. And Right now, it's a little bit after 2 o'clock. Um, so, um, there's a slightly different format to this show that I'm doing right now. Uh, and it is, I usually preface a new little segment on my show by saying it's either good news or bad news. I'm adding a thing. It's called Harsh Truths that will be for the benefit of citizens of this nation. Okay, this is kpca.fm, and it goes out worldwide, and it goes out locally at 103.3 FM. And then as soon as I get done, doing this, I'll download it to YouTube. So look for it tonight. Okay. I'm going to do my shout outs now. And I don't have my shout outs done in my notes. So it's going to be, off the top of my head. Okay, Project Censored, as I usually start the shout outs with, the three guys, Mickey Huff, who's now back in upstate New York, and see, I can't remember the name of the college that he's a distinguished professor of now. It's in the same town that Cornell is in, but it's not Cornell. Okay. And then Nolan Higdon down in Cal State Hayward, or Cal State East Bay in Hayward. He's a history professor there. And Andy Lee Roth, those three dudes keep the Project Censored going. And the State of the Free Press 2025, it's an annual book that they produce. It's at the printers now. If you call in, if you go to their website, and please do sign up for their newsletter. It's quite informative. The State of the Free Press 2024 is available now. So if you pre-order a 2025 book, you might be able to get it as a signed copy, which would be an invaluable addition to your book collection. Okay. John Crowley, owner of Aquas Cafe, they're at 2nd and H in the southern part of Petaluma. He is the encourager of various groups that meet there at the Aquas Cafe. And they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, an early dinner, not a late dinner, but I would call it light fare. But it's very good, and they have beer and wine on tap. Okay, these groups are musical groups, poetry readings, writers' conferences, and various other nonprofit organizations occasionally meet there, including a twice-a-year event that's called Drinks with Shrinks. Psychotherapists come out of the woodwork and meet there or some other venue close by because it's become more popular. I went to the last one and had some interesting conversations with some of the shrinks. The ones that I've really gotten to know over my 35 years of private tutoring here, they didn't show up. I guess they're truly retired. And, Tom Gaffey, the godfather of the alternative teens at the Phoenix Theater. The Phoenix Theater has groups playing there. The Phoenix Theater here in Petaluma, it's on the corner of Washington and Howard, I believe. But anyway, their music tends toward the grunge and metal genre. Okay, Ralph Scott, the owner and guiding light behind Squeaky Cheese Productions, LLC. They create audio books, and he has a whole stable of voice thespians at his beck and call. Okay. Dr. David Rubin. He's not a local guy. He's back in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina. He and I used to room together way, way, way back in 1977, 78. He's the world's finest lung doctor, and he did his work up at UC San Francisco in Parnassus Heights. And most of his time was spent in researching endothelial cells and the enzymes that they secrete. And he had clinical hours as well. Okay, he retired from all that, went to work for GlaxoSmithKline. That drug company is in the Raleigh-Durham area. And he set up clinical trials for their new drugs to see, did they work, or were the side effects worse than the condition that they were trying to alleviate? Every drug has some side effect. Most of them, fortunately, are just not notable. Okay? And don't listen to RFK Jr., that quack, that conspiracy theorist, that anti-vaxxer that the orange sociopathic bloat bag is going to put in charge of the nation's health care. Oh my God. We're doomed. Hopefully the Senate will weed him out of things. He has just eaten too much bear meat and had one too many brain worms. He's just not all there, as are most anti-vaxxers. In fact, all anti-vaxxers are not quite all there. Sip. Okay, the rest of the shout-outs are just friends, relatives, acquaintances who have indicated that occasionally they listen in to my ranting once a week. Okay, Dave and Rosie up in Sacramento, Kevin and Lori in Cotati, Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol, Art Kuznets here in Petaluma, and Tim Conrad here in Petaluma. Art, I met at B'nai Israel, and I forgot to mention Ted Feldman, Rabbi Ted Feldman, who is retired now, but he ran a bunch of night classes at B'nai Israel. My late wife was Jewish, and she and I used to go to these things, and I learned quite a bit about the history of Israel, the history of Judaism, and their kind of wacky beliefs. I'm not anti-Jewish, but I think they are as silly in their belief system as are all other religions. And I've got something to say about the Hindu religion later on in the show. And a real danger to this country are the Christian nationalists, and I'll be talking about them a little bit later as well. Okay, down in Tiburon, Dennis and Megan, San Francisco, Yvonne and Rick, and then over in Pacifica, Stan and Kathy Gustafson. He was a retired city attorney of the city of Daly City. On down to the LA area, Aunt Jackie and her two daughters, Samantha, who lives down there with her little boy, and Melanie, who's on vacation now over in Europe, but she took up residence in Austin, Texas, that little beacon of hope in an otherwise red MAGA state. Okay, Arkansas, Shannon Reed, down to Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell. Nelson is a retired United States public health officer. And boy, he should be the one to run the whole public health service, not some doofus appointment from the orange sociopathic bloat bag. Nelson was the smartest guy by far in my high school class. Okay, the other side of Florida, Nelson and Alice are in the Sarasota area, dodging hurricanes. Not anymore. It's not hurricane season anymore. But they survived the one hurricane that came ashore right at Sarasota. Anyway, on the other side of Florida, Amelia Beamer, who is a novelist, an editor. She is associated with the Locus magazine, Locus, and they're right across the bay here in Oakland. And they are a magazine that reviews books in the three genres: science fiction, horror, and fantasy. And Amelia helps also budding writers, of which I am one, that she has given help to. And then up to Raleigh-Durham, I've already told you about Dr. Dave Rubin, the world's finest lung doctor. And then Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. And then back here on the West Coast, up to Sonora, Robert Finnegan, Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their two offspring, Brad and Martha. And Brad runs the Tuolumne County Historical Society Museum there in downtown Sonora. So if you're ever vacationing up that way, stop by and say hi to him. There's a lot of interesting stuff in that museum. Okay, Darrell Larson, our bronc rider from my high school class, and he has the broken bones to show for it. Judy May, Kathy Francis, and Lynn Quayle, who splits her time between Sonora and Manhattan. Boy, that is a contrast in lifestyles. Wow. Okay, it's a story behind that. Okay, and further on up Highway 108 to Twainhart, John Gleason and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer, and I'm not sure where they're living now. Tiffany is a professor of African studies, wherever she is. I can't remember the name of the college she's a professor at right now. And then, okay, all the way down to Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. And she's not a big fan of newly elected president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. Um, she says that Claudia is a communist. Well, she's not. She may be a bit lefty, the kind of lefty that I like, but she's not a communist. People who call people either Nazis or communists generally don't really know the meaning of either term. Okay, enough for the shout outs. Whew, I got through it without notes. Yay! Okay, sip of water. Okay, I promised that I would start every show with some good news. And this show's not going to be an exception. I've been following on YouTube videos and Facebook videos a violin prodigy, Karolina Prochenko. She's 16 now. But she started studying violin, and she's classically trained at the age of 6. Her family moved here to the States from Ukraine, and she has now she has 2 little brothers, but she does busking, which is playing music or singing or joke telling or whatever. For tips on the street. And she does her thing. She doesn't do it every day. I mean, she does go to school. But 2 or 3 times a month, maybe more often, I don't really know. But I'm just fascinated by her playing. And I've seen some YouTube videos of her, formally dressed up, playing her violin in front of an orchestra. She is that good. But in her busking, she plays covers of pop music. And she is just very good at this. And she kind of dances out on the street at the same time that she's playing her violin. It must be kind of difficult to do that, but she pulls it off. And her mother is a musician herself, playing piano, and sometimes she sings as well. But she started busking in 2017. She was born in 2008. So I guess she was 9 when she started busking. I have seen some videos of her when she was very young, like 9 or 10, busking out in the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. And lately there's been videos of her in other venues, I guess you could call them. But I urge my viewers and listeners out there to check her out. And you'd be in for a treat. All right. Bad news. I got to take a sip of water before I go into this bad news. Oh, boy. I'm going to have 2 segments concerning this creep on this rant. Bad news. Kash Patel, a loyalist to the orange sociopathic bloat bag, has been nominated to head the FBI. He has vowed to shut down the FBI headquarters and reopen it as a, quote, museum of the deep state. In my notes, I said the so-called deep state because it's a fiction. It's just a made-up pejorative by the worshippers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. There is no deep state. There are just government employees, and most of the government employees are civil service people who they probably all have opinions about political people, but they are a non-political organization. The orange sociopathic bloat bag will use the FBI as a group to investigate his non-believers and enemies. I am all for Joe Biden giving blanket pardons to all of the people that appear on the so-called enemies list that the orange sociopathic bloat bag and Kash Patel have invented, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the word I'm using. Okay, bad news. The Center for Inquiry's Quack Watch. The Center for Inquiry is an organization of skeptics, of which I am a member. They are back in upstate New York, I think in Amherst, but they publish the Skeptical Inquirer magazine, and they debunk things like UFOs, crop circles, psychics, Bigfoot, all of that kind of crap. And also, they debunk non-scientific so-called medical cures, such as, oh boy, brain freeze, homeopathy, naturopathy, acupuncture, that's another one that they go after, Ayurvedic medicine, things that are just not scientifically proven. Okay, I'm off my notes. CFI, Quackwatch reports that RFK Jr., the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag's nomination for Health and Human Services Secretary, said in speeches back in 2013 that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, vaccine division, is a fascist enterprise and knowingly hurts children. That's a quote from him, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the worm brain guy. He also said in a speech that the CDC is a cesspool of corruption, and it likened them to Nazi death camps. Okay, check on the time. Okay. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I did a lot on last week's show on these clown car full of cabinet nominees that the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag hopes to sneak by the Senate confirmation process. Okay. He made these statements at Autism One. Now, that's an organization of It's a private, non-profit, 501c3 organization that helps children and families with autism spectrum disorder. The Midnight Skeptic is suspicious about any organization that would have RFK Jr. as a guest speaker. I was not able to find any meaningful information about Autism One's leanings towards pseudoscience, or not, hopefully. Okay. Bad news for our nation's health in the coming Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag administration. The Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag's nomination of Mehmet Oz to oversee Medicare and Medicaid has opened the door for pseudoscience and medical cures. And he undoubtedly will shill for his supplements from countries he has invested in. I'll talk more about Mehmet Oz in coming shows. I refuse to call him Dr. Mehmet Oz. Okay. Harsh reality. A notable aspect of private health insurance is the absence of any good reason for it to exist. It does not contain costs, expand coverage, or expedite care. It makes those things worse. Its sole function is to create profit as a rent-seeking middleman between patients and healthcare providers. For my entire working life, which is about 50 years now, I've been a member of Kaiser Permanente, an HBO, and I've never had a problem with them. I've always gotten the care that I needed, but Provident, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, all of those people are just sucking profits out of our nation's healthcare system. Okay. Another harsh reality. GOP MAGA heads would rather let 100 people go hungry just to avoid helping one who might not deserve it. Liberal Democrats would feed 100 people to ensure that not even one goes hungry. That's the main difference between MAGA heads, Republicans, today's conservatives, and Democrats who are liberal and progressive. Good news. Alex Consani, capital Consani, has just won the British Fashion Council 2024 Model of the Year. She is a local girl. Her aunt, Monica Burrows, is a teacher at Miller Creek Middle School District down in Marin County, near here. She was born in Petaluma in 2023, and she is transgender. Yay for her. And she went to Petaluma high school here in this town. Okay? Good for her. And good for all the support that she got in her formative years. Okay. Good news. Chase Strangio, Strangio, will make history, or he did make history yesterday, Wednesday. No, 2 days ago, Wednesday. This is Friday. He presented the argument in Supreme Court. Okay. I wrote this notes on Tuesday, I think. Okay. But he did it on Wednesday. He argued before the Supreme Court on Wednesday, December 4th. He was the first transgender attorney to do so. The case in question is the United States versus Skrmetti. Skrmetti is a creepy attorney general of the state of Tennessee who passed a law banning gender-affirming care for transgender kids. Now, that word care ranges all the way from talking to your family doctor, talking to a child psychiatrist, all the way up to hormonal treatments to ease their transition when puberty comes around. Okay? Now, Tennessee is outlawing it, and I smell Christians behind that law. Okay, and Chase Strangio said, this is a quote, and he was talking to a reporter about this. "It's not lost on me that I will be standing there at the lectern at the Supreme Court in part because I was able to have access to the medical care that is the very subject of the case that we're litigating," he said recently. Okay? In front of the Supreme Court of the United States, back in Washington, D.C., large pro-trans crowds gathered, and then a handful of hateful Republican MAGA-head Christians that are afraid of transsexual people, transgender people. They're just, I smell Christians. Okay. And Elliot Page, the actor, was there. I don't know how long he was out there protesting, but this is what he said. Elliot Page asked, "What is it about our joy," meaning the trans community, "what is it about our joy that makes people so uncomfortable, and debate the legitimacy of the health care that allows us to thrive?" Well, ask some Christians why they are so uncomfortable. Okay, they're the ones that are essentially behind this whole anti-trans things, and the GOP MAGA heads have taken up the mantle of being anti-trans because they see a lot of votes to be had from these hateful creeps. Okay. I need another sip of water. Horrible news. The most dangerous appointment by the orange sociopathic bloat bag to his administration is Kash Patel to head the FBI. a law enforcement group that he will try to dismantle. Patel is an uber toady and worshiping loyalist to the orange sociopathic bloat bag. He, fortunately, must be confirmed by the Senate. There are 4 or 5 normal Republicans who will probably vote against him. Patel fully believes that the so-called deep state is out to get the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his minions and toadies. Under Patel, the FBI would be tasked to go after the media and those who helped Joe Biden rig the 2020 election. Patel is also a QAnon conspiracy theorist and a MAGA combatant. Oh God, I still hope that this country will survive this assault on rationality. Okay. Here, I said earlier that there used to be honest, thoughtful conservatives and Republicans. Well, here is a quote from one of them. Okay? Quote from Mr. Conservative, the good kind, Barry Goldwater. And he said this in 1980. And this was the Reagan-Carter election. Mark my word, if and when these preachers get control of the Republican Party, and they're sure trying to do so, it's going to be a terrible damned problem. Frankly, these people frighten me. Politics and governing demand compromise, but these Christians believe they are acting in the name of God, so they can't and won't compromise. I know. I've tried to deal with them. Reagan, and I liked him at the time because he's basically a nice guy, but he, back in 1980, made a deal with the right-wing Christian nationalists in order to beat Jimmy Carter, an honorable Christian. Now, Jimmy Carter was the type of Christian that we should have in this country, but unfortunately, nowadays we don't. Okay. Reagan, back in 1980, in the election, in order to beat Jimmy Carter, an honorable Christian, aligned himself with Jerry Falwell, a GOP turd, along with other Christian creeps, the Family Research Council, Focus on the Family, all of those creepy organizations. And Reagan won the 1980 election, and it's been downhill for the Republican Party ever since. Okay, another harsh truth. And this was said by Louis Brandeis, one of our previous Supreme Court justices. Quote, "We can have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of a few, but we can't have both." And I'm sure that the Socialist Democrats and Bernie Sanders would agree with that sentiment. Okay, good news. California survived a 7.0 earthquake off the coast of Mendocino. There was minimal damage. A few homes were knocked off their foundations. Some bottles came off of the shelves of liquor stores and supermarkets. And there was no tsunami. So, usually a 7.0 causes more damage than this one did. So, we survived this one. I've really got to get into the habit of using more of my sound effects than I've been using. Okay. Bad news. The orange sociopathic bloat bags pick to head up our national intelligence. The DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is a Russian operative. Retired intelligence officer Doug London says Gabbard's alignment with Russian narratives, quote, can suggest naivete, collusion, or politically opportunistic sycophancy, to the orange sociopathic bloat bag. Any of these bodes poorly for her ability to provide impartial intelligence to the president. According to The Guardian, the newspaper, senior members of the intelligence community have questioned Gabbard's alignment with U.S. values. One senior official said she was, quote, historically unfit, unquote, for the role. Our allies around the world, mainly in Europe, are very mistrustful now of the United States and our intelligence services, and they will be more distrustful of our country's motives when and if Tulsi Gabbard is approved by the Senate for her being the DNI, Director of National Intelligence. Oh, boy. Whew. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I will have more about other cabinet picks from the orange sociopathic bloat bag. I don't know whether he's doing this on purpose to the extent that he does have thought out purposes, but he's playing right into the hands of Vladimir Putin. I urge all of my listeners to go to, on their computers, YouTube, to the 2017, this is his first term, conference in Helsinki, Finland, and the sight of him and Putin coming to the lecterns for a press conference after they had their meeting together, and you could tell by the body language that the orange sociopathic bloat bag was Putin's puppet and his subservient dog. Okay. But yeah, please do that. I've seen it and I was disgusted. Okay. Bad news for animals. This is stupid religious practices. Okay. Bad news for animals. Every 5 years, around November or December, hundreds of thousands of Hindus flock to a temple in southeastern Nepal near the border with India, a tradition that entails the slaughter of as many as 500,000 animals, from pigeons and goats to water buffaloes. The Hindus' belief in these animal sacrifices will appease the Hindu goddess Gadhimai. I'll spell that. Capital Gadhimai, who will bring them prosperity. Animal rights activists in India have tried to stop it, but really to no avail. This just goes to show you how, well, I want to say silly religions are, but it's not silly to the animals. I hope that after these animals are slaughtered, that the poor and the destitute can have them to eat. I'm not a vegetarian, but at least they wouldn't be going to waste. Okay, the goddess is Gadhimai, capital Gadhimai. Look her up. All right? Good news to end the show. Tokyo is set to introduce a 4-day work week. This is partly due to government efforts to boost the birth rates in Japan and reduce work stress, which leads to an increasing amount of suicides there in Japan. So, okay. Good news for the 4-day work week. And bad news for increasing suicides and a lowering of a birth rate in Japan. Okay, with that, I'm going to play my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Yes, pet your cats. Don't slaughter them. I don't care what Hindu goddess would be appeased or not. Just everybody, think logically, think rationally, think scientifically, and please, please pet and honor your cats. Okay? Until next week, this is the Midnight Skeptic. Listen in Sunday or watch me on YouTube. I'm going to try to get this downloaded today, like within the next half hour. So I'll see you guys next week.